This story comes from Reddit user Midwest Exploration. So we're going to call him Brent, and we'll call his friend Patrick. Brent is a well-seasoned outdoorsman and hunter who lives in northern Utah and spends lots of his time in the woods. He's never really been a suspicious person and always manages to find a rational explanation for the weird things he sometimes sees in the woods. But for this specific experience, he has no explanation. On this particular winter day, Mother Nature dumps about 3 feet of snow, and Brent and Patrick, another experienced hunter, find themselves gifted with a snow day that would be perfect for some bird hunting. So they load up their shotguns into the back of Patrick's off-road setup Jeep and head up to the mountain, hoping to bag a grouse or two. When Brent and Patrick reach the gate at the base of the mountain, they find it closed, but not locked, which is odd because usually the gate is locked. But hey, bonus! They open it up and go on through. They actually manage to drive quite a few miles with the Jeep, and as they do, it's pretty obvious they're the first people up there for quite a while. There is only one way in and one way out of there, just a single road. They drive the little Jeep trail for about 3 to 4 miles. Finally, they reach their hunting spot, which is very remote. Extremely remote. Brent and Patrick step out of the Jeep, and the first thing that they hear is an elk calling. But it's wrong. It sounds distorted and raspy. The weirdest part, though, is that Brent has hunted in that canyon his entire life, and he's never even seen an elk in there. However, they both just blow it off, figuring that there could be an elk in there. Stranger things have happened in the world, right? But as they start walking up the trail toward the grouse hangout spot, they see something that horrifies both of them. They see what looks like baby foot tracks in the snow. Not a child's footprint, but like a newborn human barefoot. At this point, Brent knows something is very wrong. Why would there be a baby up here all alone in more than 3 feet of snow? And how could they even walk through 3 feet of snow, let alone walk at all? But at the same time, he feels oddly compelled to continue along following the tracks. Maybe there's somebody up ahead who really needs help. Brent and Patrick keep walking, filled with mounting dread at what they might find just 10 steps up the trail. And these tracks are fresh, not a week old or anything like that. It looks like whatever made them came through there like just a few minutes ago. They hike around cliff faces and very steep and dark pine tree slopes for what feels like hours. And as cliche as it sounds, Brent says that the worst part and the most unnerving part is just how empty the woods are. Like they're absent of all life. Eventually, after what seems like forever, they reach a sagebrush clearing, and the footsteps keep going. But by this point, it's getting dark, and Brent feels really skivved out about this whole thing. So they decide to turn around and head back to the Jeep. They finally get the Jeep in sight when they start hearing squirrels chirping like 200 yards away down a very deep and dark valley where the trees block out all the sunlight. At this point, the idea of doing any real hunting is pretty much out the window. So Brent and Patrick decide to follow the chirping. They get about 300 yards into the trees when it becomes pretty obvious that the chirps are drawing them further and further into the woods. The chirping continues, but there are no signs of any squirrels. And at this point, it's almost completely dark. Brent and Patrick stop, sharing an unspoken WTF when Brent notices something. He sees what looks like a tall, slender, hairy, mangled-looking creature. As it walks, it becomes very clear that this is no earthly creature. Its knees bend backward, like deer legs, but inverted. It walks bipedally, but very awkwardly, almost as if it doesn't know how to walk. Brent only sees it for about 30 seconds before it disappears around the bend of an old dried up riverbank. At that moment, Brent is sure it hasn't seen them and they need to leave. They sneak back to the Jeep as fast and as quietly as they can, load everything up, and vacate the area. As they're making their way back down the Jeep trail, Brent swears he hears a gut-wrenching scream and is pretty damn sure he catches a glimpse of it running parallel to the Jeep. He can say with certainty that he will never forget this experience. He doesn't know what it is, but he's pretty sure it falls into that not deer, maybe skinwalker category. It keeps him awake at night to this day, and he hasn't been hunting since.